It's now time for Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. It began as a podcast, went live on the net, and transformed into a full-blown empire. It's the only daily boxing talk show on the planet, hosted by the only guy with the balls to do it. Many have stepped into the ring. Many have tried to take the belt. And one by one, they've fallen. Another victim of the undisputed heavyweight champion of Boxing Talk Radio. Talkin' Boxing with Billy C is on now.
My style is impetuous, my defense is impregnable, and I'm just ferocious. I want your heart.
And we're coming to you live from the Billy C Studios in Lake George, New York. I'm Bill Calogero, and it's time for the Billy C Show. Good morning, good day, good evening. Whenever you're listening, whenever you're watching, I hope you're doing all right today. Today's show is being brought to us in part by Sal's Neighborhood Pizzeria and Italian Restaurant located on St. Simon's Island in Georgia. Check out the website, www.salsneighborhoodpizzeria.com, or give my man a call, 912-268-2328, 912-268-2328. Find out why I go all the way to St. Simon's for an authentic Italian meal. Today's show is also being brought to us in part by the Holiday Inn and all of their properties, Hey, you're going someplace, you need to stay in a hotel, make sure you stay at a Holiday Inn property. It's where I stay. And hey, I got some better news. We can get you a discount. That's right. If you use our toll-free number, that's 844-603-0364. That's 844-603-0364. We'll get you the Billy C discount. Now, if you're like me and you can't remember numbers, then just go to the website, www.billycboxing.com, and click on the banner. Today's show is also being brought to us in part by the Turning Stone Resort and Casino and their big fight, HBO fight, tomorrow night. If you haven't gotten yourself tickets and you plan on going, visit our website, billycboxing.com, and click on the fight poster. We'll get you the best prices available, and in addition to that, demand the Billy C discount. Now, I promised I was going to be ringside. Unfortunately, I will not. Something came up, and I am being forced to miss this one, but it's a good one. Don't you miss it. And finally, today's show is being brought to us in part by my book, Tom Molyneux, From Bondage to Baddest Men on the Planet. It's available right now where all good books are sold, and you can get a copy of this book right now while you're watching or listening to the show. Just visit barnesandnoble.com or amazon.com. Find out why I'm so adamant about getting Tom Molyneux's story told. And by the way, if you're looking to get a signed copy, don't worry about it. Just visit our website, billycboxing.com, and click on the book. Or if you're looking to get multiple copies, which I just absolutely love, then just drop me an email personally, and I'll hook you up with some special pricing. Billy at Talkin' Boxing, TalkinBoxing.com. Listen, the main focus today is the biggest fight of this weekend. Vasyl Lomachenko going up against Jorge Linares, a world title fight. Jorge Linares has already accomplished winning titles in not one, not two, but three different divisions. And Vasyl Lomachenko is going to try to match that feat on Saturday night. We also are going to be breaking down the couple of fights on Friday night, Devin Haney against Mason Menard. I refuse to break down the Tony Harrison versus Ishii Smith fight, and the main reason is because Ishii Smith is the most boring fighter I've ever watched, except for Floyd Mayweather. So I am not going to even entertain any more of his fights. Why he keeps hanging on there. And then he cries about being robbed after he loses. So no. But instead, based on our discussions yesterday about the cruiserweight division, I will be breaking down and predicting the cruiserweight matchup between Andrew Tabiti and Latif Coyote, as well as Saddam Ali, Jamie Mugaya, Ray Vargas, Asat Hardovoshian, and, of course, the big fight of the weekend, Jorge Linares against Vasyl Lomachenko. That's coming up in a little bit. Sal and I will break those fights down, give you our predictions. We may even open up the phone lines. We want to extend our Super Chat Thursday to Super Chat Friday. Why? Because we didn't get any Super Chats yesterday. So hopefully we'll get some today. But before we get going with the breakdowns, and I got some emails to read, a couple of news bits in the sport of boxing today that I wanted to talk about. Features a couple of interesting things that have happened over the last 24 hours. First and foremost, Vladimir Klitschko. We were talking about him last week, matched up with basically a bunch of accolades given to him from Anthony Joshua. And Klitschko is kind of getting back in the news, and apparently he's seriously considering a comeback. I saw some, to get out of boxing for a second, I saw some headlines about a football player who is considering a comeback as well. A guy that, I'm not even going to give him the props. But in any event, Vladimir Klitschko considering to make a comeback. Obviously, he would want to go for a big fight. I can't see Klitschko coming back for a tune-up fight first, but 64 wins, 5 losses, 53 coming by knockout. His last fight was against Anthony Joshua in April of last year. And if, in case you forgot, his brother, Vitaly Klitschko, is being inducted into the International Hall of Fame this year. I kind of forgot it till my man Coach reminded me. But joining me right now to get his thoughts on a possible return from Vladimir Klitschko, who isn't quite ready yet and is racing, as he always does at the last minute here, is my man Sal Rocky Sanicola. And Sal, do you think Vladimir Klitschko will return to the ring? And if so, what can he bring to the heavyweight division?
Well, I think he brings a lot of thunder. I think he brings a lot. And I like Vladimir Klitschko, and I think he has had a stellar career. And it's hard. It's hard to leave the sport of boxing, and it's hard to say this was your last fight, and especially for him to go out on a losing note, even though it was against a world champion. I think he's got some unsettled and unfinished business, and I think he would probably like another opportunity at that title shot. I'm sure he's financially well off, and he seems to be smart with his money, and he's made millions and millions of dollars. And, the fight's been a while ago now, and he had time to spend with his family, and it's probably nagging at him saying, hey, I'm still in good shape. I could still get back in there. I still have a couple good fights in me. Let me get back in shape and train, and let's see how I feel. So he's been training, I'm sure, and he's been working out. He's been running a little bit, and he's going to turn on the juice, not the Canelo juice. And
you like my line, huh?
I like your line, pal. I'm going to plagiarize that a little bit. So basically, I think he will come back. And a guy of his stature, not physical, but just of his accomplishments, he's not going to go in against anybody for a tune-up or so. I think it'd be a good fight. I got it. Why don't we put Klitschko in with Tyson Fury?
Well, that was Tyson Fury's last fight. And speaking of Tyson Fury, I'm glad you brought him up. I saw some shots of him yesterday that this guy is, people could say what they want about Tyson Fury. I've always been a fan of Tyson Fury. I know that he's kind of fallen off the, he kind of went off the deep end a little bit. But let me tell you something. If anybody is second-guessing his commitment to his return to the ring, all they got to do is look at some photos of him now. The guy lost almost 100 pounds, Sal. This was a guy that was walking around. They were poking fun at his tummy tum-tum, which looked like a barrel. It looks like he was carrying around a barrel of monkeys. But literally, he's lost 100 pounds and looks great. So at least, and if you recall, he's also changed his trainer and feels that he's getting much better at his game, which he felt he was the best to begin with anyway. So who knows, man? Maybe he will make a big play. And I'm not disagreeing with you. Maybe a rematch between Klitschko and Tyson Fury wouldn't be out of the question. It would certainly make both of the guys some money. I got a quote from Klitschko backing up his stating that he's making some thoughts in that move. He says, you never say never. They should do a James Bond episode about that. But anyway, he says you should never say never. Things can change. People often switch careers during their lifetimes. Look at Arnold Schwarzenegger. He was an athlete, then an actor, then a politician, then a businessman, and now he's involved in taking care of the planet. Maybe if I feel the time is right to help a certain charity, I'll get back in the ring. I've had great times in the last 27 years that I spent in the sport of boxing. I learned a lot and I traveled a lot, which was my goal when I first started this boxing. I've achieved what I never dreamed of. I've done and experienced things that I've never even thought about. I've learned that when some doors close, others open. It's all about life experiences, and sport really is amazing. I would quote Nelson Mandela here. Sport has the power to change the world because it's a global thing.
Wow. Very good.
Nobody ever said that Vladimir Klitschko or his brother Vitaly Klitschko were a couple of dummies. They're both extremely intelligent. Boxing's a business, and if the money's right, I wouldn't be surprised to see him. Return to the ring. You can't say that his performance against Anthony Joshua, I know the ending wasn't the way he kind of planned it, but I got news for you. If he would have fought his entire career the way he fought Anthony Joshua, and I want to throw in Kubrat Pulev, because the fight against Kubrat Pulev was a Tyson-esque type of an approach from Klitschko. This is a guy that we would be talking about much more, because of his boring style. And let's face it, it was. He doesn't get the accolades that he really should. He dominated the division for almost a decade, Sal. I mean, that you can't overlook.
Well, no, and the way he was so dominant in the fashion that he would fight, I mean, why change and do things? I mean, if it, not to say victories come easy, they don't. I mean, you pay a lot of price in the gym preparing for a fight. But the bottom line is, he was so overwhelming to so many opponents. He never really had to get out of first or second gear on some levels. And when he did, we saw a different fighter from him. And it was basically, as you say, when you hold the heavyweight championship belt of the world for years upon years upon years, almost a decade, you have a lot to be proud of. And you've beaten any and all comers for a long time. So, it is what it is. I'm glad to see him come back because, like I said, he still has some fight in him, I could tell. So I wish him all the best, and I'll look forward to following his comeback. And hopefully he'll be fairly treated and have some good opponents, and we'll see some good excitement from him.
We're also getting some opinions on the possibility of a Klitschko-Tyson Fury rematch, and so far, a thumbs up. So we'll see. We'll keep you posted on that. One other thing I wanted to mention that kind of caught my attention in the news yesterday, or late yesterday, which will be more prominent in today's news. But once again, I'm being baffled, Sal. I say baffled over the WBA. Okay.
No,
now,
come on,
really? I know it's strange. I know it's strange, but the WBA,
that is not right.
The WBA, in my opinion, they continue to do things that, in my opinion, would force people to totally disregard them as a serious, legitimate sanctioning body. And wait till you hear the latest, okay? Now, Bebot Shumenov was a former two-divisional world title holder. His last title was actually the WBA cruiserweight title. And because of an injury, separation, he had some real major problems with his eye socket, some separation of nerve damage, et cetera,
Wow.
and he retired. Now, he was a guy that, he's another smart fighter. I think he's an attorney by trade. And anyway, Bibat Shumanov has announced that he was going to be coming back. This actually was several months ago, I recall, and it kind of went to bed a little bit. I didn't hear anything else. I figure maybe he changed his mind or whatever. And lo and behold, it comes back that he's going to be making a comeback. And you would think, just like we were mentioning moments ago, that you would think that a guy that has been out of the ring for quite some time would want a tune-up fight. Nay. Bibat Shumanov has been granted a shot at the vacant WBA World Cruiserweight title. Incidentally, the same title that's been vacant since he vacated it. And keep in mind, his last professional fight was May 21st in 2016. So it's almost 2 full years that Shumanov hasn't even been inside the ring. And, oh, by the way, he had announced his retirement within that 2 years. So you would think that the WBA could have found somebody to pay their sanctioning fee so that they could hand him the belt. This guy automatically gets a shot at their world title. But wait, there's more, because it gets even better than that. His opponent is Hisni El-Takuye, and I'm sure I murdered that poor man's name. His record is 30 wins and 1 loss, with 17 of his wins coming by knockout. He's a Turkish fighter who actually is residing and fighting out of Germany right now. The computer ranks him, Sal, get this, at number 71. Why even have this fight take place? Why is the WBA even sanctioning a fight like this? This is exactly my point about fighters who get the opportunity because they shell out the coin, and the young guys that are in the gym busting their asses for an opportunity get bypassed. And I could see many young fighters saying to themselves, why bother? What's your thoughts on a guy who's been out of the ring for 2 years, fighting a guy that the computer sees is the 71st ranked fighter in that division?
I tell you, it's not right. Not right. I think you know, I don't care if it's Klitschko. I don't care if it's Tyson Fury. I don't care if it's this guy. You can't go right into a title fight. And when you've been out of the ring for more than 2 years, 3 years, 1 year, you know what? You got to pay your way. You got to at least fight a top 10 contender first or something like that. And this guy who's ranked by he's got to be ranked in top 10 somewhere by WBA, right?
Who? Shumanov?
The guy he's fighting that's ranked number 70-something.
Well, if he's not, he's ranked number 71st in the computer rankings.
Yeah.
But I would be. I didn't even look. But of course, he's going to magically appear in those rankings. We all know how that works.
I know. We know. But yeah, Bill. You know, it's the almighty dollar. You know, you can buy yourself a belt or buy yourself an opportunity for a belt or buy a belt of scotch. I don't know what you want, but it's a shame. That's the integrity or lack thereof of the game. That's always been part of it. It's just more now so obvious that you know, it's hard to defend. You can't really. It is what it is.
Yeah, it's, you know, anybody that would disagree with me concerning the level of, you know, ranking, so to speak, that you would give the WBA compared to the other sanctioning bodies. If this doesn't convince you that I'm right, I don't know what else would. It's pretty sad, but in any event. Hey, listen, we're going to take a short break. We're only going to take 2 breaks today, so for I shouldn't say that because the powers that be, our television affiliates and radio affiliates, get teed off at us when we bypass their opportunities. But in any event, we're going to take one right now, and when we come back, I got some emails to read. So don't go anywhere. Then, by the way, we'll read some emails. Then we'll break down some big fights scheduled for this weekend. We do have our super chat going on in the YouTube chat room. So if you have any comments, questions, thoughts, predictions, whatever, give us a super chat and we'll make it part of the show. We may even open up the phone line. Don't go anywhere.
Billy C will be right back.
Broken air conditioning, $4,400. Failing refrigerator, $2,500. Don't let outrageous repair and replacement bills like these bust your budget. Get the First American Home Warranty Plan. And when a covered appliance or system breaks, we'll repair it or replace it for you.
We had a high-end dishwasher go kaput. They put it in a brand new dishwasher.
We have plans that cover air conditioning, most appliances, plus heating, plumbing, electrical systems, and much more. Plans start as low as $25 a month. Why let a major appliance or system breakdown bust your budget or go through the hassle of finding trustworthy service people? Last year alone, we saved our customers over $120 million. Don't wait until something breaks and you're stuck with a huge bill.
We save a lot of money.
It's absolutely worth it.
If you don't have First American Warranty, get it.
Call 1-800-946-6234 for your free no-obligation quote.
Need relief from backaches and stiffness in your hips or down your legs? Then you need Dr. Ho's Back Relief Belt. The innovative technology works to support and decompress your spine. And now it's covered by Medicare.
Every patient with back pain should be wearing this belt.
Nothing gave me instant relief except for the Dr. Ho belt.
Feel good while standing, walking, driving, doing housework, and while laying down. And now Dr. Ho's patented belt is available at our best price ever. It's even covered by Medicare. Order now and get the easy-to-use hand pump and back rehabilitation DVD free.
You know, similar belts can cost you almost $1,000, but my belts won't cost you $500, not $300, not even $200. I will give you my special TV price.
And remember, Dr. Ho's belt is covered by Medicare.
If you know a friend or family member that suffers with pain, get them my system today. Help them live with less pain, be more active, and get back to doing the things they love. Give them the gift of health.
Listen to this important message. If you owe money to the IRS, you will want to hear this. Penalties and interest compound daily on your back taxes, putting you under a mountain of debt. Tax 10,000 has years of experience connecting people with tax resolution specialists. Working through the IRS Fresh Start program, they will handle all the necessary forms, and if you qualify, you may end up saving thousands of dollars. Call Tax 10,000 at 800-773-4604.
You currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace?
Call Back Brace America at 1-800-290-8300.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts! Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you!
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C. Show. Glad you could be with us today. And, making comebacks at an older age is nothing new. But, I wasn't going to mention his name, but, former quarterback, and he's a Hall of Famer, which I'm not so sure he deserved to be in the Hall of Fame, Kurt Warner. He's 47 years old, and he's seriously thinking about making a comeback. He's actually reached out to some NFL teams. It just goes to show you that, if there's a will, there's a way. And if there's somebody willing to write a check, there's even more chances, right, Sal?
Yeah, absolutely. You know what they say? Today's 50 is tomorrow's 30, something like that.
Today's 50 is today's 30. Yeah. You and I both hope that. That's for sure.
Hey, that's for damn sure.
But
I also read there was a baseball player. I caught it, but I can't recall who it was. Who was either banned from the sport years ago or retired, and he's an older ball player, I think. And I heard that he was going to make a comeback. So I'm not sure.
I don't
even know if it's in the regular MLB, MBL. I'm not sure, but I'll research that a little bit and get back to you.
You're such a sports nut. You know it all. It's MLB, okay? It's Major League Baseball.
So I said I have dyslexia.
Yeah. You said it, then you were wondering if even that was right. But anyway,
how about my first cup? Okay.
I know. Maybe you should get a bigger one. Let's get started with some emails. This first one is from Daniel McKenzie. And he says, "Dear Bully C."
Bully C. I like that. That's a nickname. I like that.
It sounds like I'm going to get a beating here. He says, okay, I know. He emphasizes no. You hate the fact.
Wait, was it N-O or K-N-O-W?
He actually did the right no. It's K-N-O-W. But he says, okay, I know. You hate the fact that Wilder claims he's the best. But at least he's claiming something. He says, this past episode was the worst for me because you failed to specify who exactly was derailing the process of the, and he's putting, Wilder-Joshua fight. Obviously, it's the AJ team. With Barry, Eddie, and AJ's comments combined clearly tells you where the hang-up is coming from. Barry saying that he wants AJ to wait. Eddie saying the $50 million seems like a PR stunt. AJ backpedaling, saying the devil is in the details and he doesn't want to sell his belts or his soul. As if he won, he'd still lose both. Yeah, that's true. I mean, he wins the fight. He doesn't, maybe he is scared of Deontay. I don't know. He says, just means he's not sure if he'd win. Okay, I agree with that. He says, but in your review of why the fight isn't happening, you failed to separate the cause. Instead, you generalized the issue. Please don't hold back and let Matchroom have it. Hearn is not bringing you to the UK and not putting you in his new deal just because you agree with him. Please tell it like it is. Sal, you're the man. But do some research, please. Listen. As far as blasting Eddie and AJ, I stand firm, Sal, and everyone else listening. I stand firm with my opinion that, just because Deontay Wilder sent a text and a video directly to AJ and copied Eddie Hearn that he's offering $50 million. I'm sorry, boys and girls, and I don't care how ignorant you may be. That is not the way a deal is made. And to add to the fact that he says, well, we're not going to rescind a contract until AJ agrees to it verbally. Well, what does that mean? That doesn't mean anything. I can agree to fight AJ myself verbally and not go through with it, and nobody can take me to court because there's no paper on it. And a verbal agreement does not usually hold up in court, and it would certainly not hold. This would certainly not hold up in court. So, with that said, I ask Daniel this: where has the pounding of the chest? I'm the best. Nobody wants to fight me. Everybody's ducking me. Deontay Wilder, where's he been since this alleged offer has been made? And the other thing is who's to say that the deal has not already been made? There was rumor that there was a two-fight deal made, that both fighters were going to have a preliminary fight rumor has it, and some inside sources that are very good have already told me that the WBC has approved, and they have said that the next fight for Deontay Wilder will be against Dominic Breazeale. When the other side of the coin, Anthony Joshua is required to fight Alexander Povetkin. Both fighters, well, let me rephrase that. Anthony Joshua is in a position to make another $20 million. Deontay Wilder, with his octopus grabbing hands in his pocket, he'll make another top maybe $2.5 million. Now, listen, I agree that the fight should not be held up. I think that the fight should be next. I also agree that Eddie Hearn and Matchroom is full of bananas when they say that the fight would only get 500,000 pay-per-views right now, and if they wait a year, that they would get 2.5 million pay-per-views. I think that's a lot of BS. And I also agree that both fighters' teams must be saying to their fighters that this is a risky fight. This is not a layup fight for Anthony Joshua, and it's certainly not a layup fight for Deontay Wilder. So listen here, Daniel. I respect your opinion, and I feel, that I have called the spade a spade, and I'm not happy with Eddie Hearn and AJ if they do decide to go in a different direction. I'm not happy with it. I've said time and time again, you guys got to listen to the whole show. You can't just look at a title and make an assumption. Obviously, this is a show that took place a couple of days ago, but the bottom line is this. The fight should be made this year. It should be their next fight. There's only one way to settle who the best is in any division, let alone the division that drives that drives the sport, which is the heavyweight division. They need to get in the ring. My only dislike for Deontay Wilder is the fact that he pounds his chest and says he's the best when he doesn't have anything to back it up except one name on his resume. But be as it may, Anthony Joshua needs to do the right thing and also back up what he's been saying, that he's willing to fight anyone, that he wants to unify the titles, etc., etc. Now's the time to put up or shut up. Sal, what's your opinion?
Well, you want my opinion? Because, how I waffle. I'm political on all my, answers, and I kind of
I'm hoping for a change. I'm hoping for a change. What's your thoughts?
I always say, if two fighters want to get in a ring, the fight's going to happen. And I will say this, Bill, and you're not going to like it. I do feel that the fight is being held up more so on the Anthony Joshua side than I do on the Deontay Wilder side. And I'm not going to let it be unknown, but I do feel that Anthony Joshua is more concerned losing to Deontay Wilder than I think Deontay Wilder is concerned about losing to Anthony Joshua. And I do predict that Anthony Joshua will probably be beaten by Deontay Wilder. But the bottom line is that's neither here or there. That's my humble opinion. And opinions are not predicated on a fact. They're just predicated on an opinion. So we will see what happens in the fact once these two combatants get in the ring. But I feel that this fight's predominantly being held up and delayed and negotiated on terms that are definitely favorable to Anthony Joshua. Not that it shouldn't be, but the bottom line is I think most of the holdup is from that side of the camp, and that's just my opinion. Like I said, I don't know, but that the way I look at the thing on a face value, surface, and everything else that I've heard and read, it lets me to believe that the fight would have been made if these two guys really want to make that the priority of what's got to be done. And I think majority of it is still in the minutia of working things out. And hopefully, like I said, we're going to just hear one day, boom, the fight's signed, sealed, and it's going to be delivered.
But that one day should be now.
It should be.
And how can you say? I need you to back up what you just said. How can you say that it's Anthony Joshua who's holding up, or Team Joshua that's holding up the fight right now, when the last time we've ever heard from the big mouth who's constantly pounding his chest, Deontay Wilder, that Sal, you said yourself, you're contradicting yourself. A contract is not made, or you can't even expect someone to respond to something that is as shallow as a text or a tweet or a video. I mean, show me something on paper. I can't listen. I fault both fighters, and I fault Eddie Hearn, of course, because he's the only real promoter in the mix. Deontay Wilder doesn't have a real promoter or a real management team behind him. He's got a bunch of snakes that are ripping him off. But the truth of the matter is I do agree that they're dragging their feet, and I hope you're right about them, cutting a deal behind closed doors. That's the way it should be. But the truth of the matter is that when can anyone really, with an intelligent look at the way that this so-called $50 million offer was presented and then make the statement that even came out of Shelley Finkel's mouth, which is a joke, that unless AJ himself replies to it, we're not going to send a contract. So in other words, they'll send a contract after he says yes. And then if all the pieces of that contract are not favorable, and he says, well, no, we can't do it, are they going to say that he backed out of the deal? I mean, I don't get it. That is a very ignorant thought process for people to think. I'm not saying you're thinking that way, but, so how could you put the blame on Team AJ? I don't understand.
Well, it's not so much putting the blame on Team AJ. I just think that the nuts and bolts of this whole idea is, hey, you know what? I'm going to say something. Poor Deontay Wilder, and I mean it like this, and not that poor, but I mean, the guy hasn't had any promotion. I mean, he should be a household name, like an Anthony Joshua. He should have been given opportunities as an ambassador to be a domestic world heavyweight champion, and he should have been promoted on certain stages and certain venues that he could be the notoriety and the promotion that he is a celebrated world heavyweight champion right here in New York from Tennessee or this one in Alabama, whatever. So the whole thing is this. I feel bad because he's got to be his own promoter. And that's why we get the bomb squad. That's why we get the words and the rhetoric and things like that, because he's promoting himself. He doesn't have a team of people that really say, hey, we got you a talk show we're gonna put you on. We got you this, we got you that. This guy should be celebrated. He's a heavyweight champion. He's domestic. He's right here. I'll promote him. I'm doing it right now. The guy is a dangerous man, and he's a very good fighter. I like him. I'm a fan of Deontay Wilder's, and I want to see him get in the ring, and I want to see him show the world what he can hopefully back up.
Listen, no one agrees. As a matter of fact, I've said it a million times. Nobody agrees with you more than me concerning the lack of promotion. And it's sad that Deontay Wilder has had to do that himself. It's extremely sad. But the facts are the facts. A contract, an offer of a deal, has to be on paper. Has to be. Anyway, listen, I'm over my break. I just want to say this. We got a super chat from my man, Johnston Brown. And he says, hey, Sal, what are you on, that Canelo juice again? He says, name one fight where the A side got offered money where they got offered money without even seeing a contract. No fight in the history of boxing has ever been made like that. And it's true.
It's true. It's true, Johnson. You're 100% correct. I know that. But what it shows is what Deontay Wilder's cam wants to show, that he is more than willing to try and open up and to be receptive to get the dialogue, get things going. And like I said all along, I have to feel in my heart of hearts that what we as the outsiders looking in, spectators, fans, whatever we are right now at the level of boxing, we are not privy to really what is going on behind the closed doors. And that is what I am hoping that these guys are nailing out, ironing out, banging out, and that's what we're going to hear.
Sal, the forever guy trying to be a nice guy. All I could say is this: Bomb Squad!
Billy C will be right back.
Hey, fantasy.
Relief from backaches and stiffness in your hips or down your legs? Then you need Dr. Ho's Back Relief Belt. The innovative technology works to support and decompress your spine. And now it's covered by Medicare.
Every patient with back pain should be wearing this belt.
Nothing gave me instant relief except for the Dr. Ho belt.
Feel good while standing, walking, driving, doing housework, and while laying down. And now Dr. Ho's patented belt is available at our best price ever. It's even covered by Medicare. Order now and get the easy-to-use hand pump and back rehabilitation DVD free.
You know, similar belts can cost you almost $1,000, but my belts won't cost you $500, not $300, not even $200. I will give you my special TV price.
And remember, Dr. Ho's belt is covered by Medicare.
If you know a friend or family member that suffers with pain, get them my system today. Help them live with less pain, be more active, and get back to doing the things they love. Give them the gift of health.
This is important news for women using birth control medications and devices. If you or a loved one have been diagnosed with a pseudotumor after using one of these birth control drugs or devices, you may be eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Contact the law firm of Davis & Crump right now if you or a loved one have used one of these birth control medications or devices and were diagnosed with a pseudotumor to see if you are eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Call now. Operators are standing by.
Hologram USA presents a proposal to all investors. Hologram USA is an innovative three-dimensional patented technology that shifted the paradigm in media technology. Our patented hologram technology that brought you Tupac and Coachella, Whitney Houston, Billie Holiday, and many more is integrating live performances to bring your favorite past and present entertainers beyond your imagination. Invest in the patented technology before the banks scoop up all the stock. Invest in Hologram USA today. Hologram USA Flagship Theater, located on Hollywood Boulevard's Walk of Fame, is the first of many to come. Call now to be part of the explosive growth. Pick up the phone. Dial the number on your screen now. Invest in Hologram USA today. Call the number on your screen right now to learn about this investment opportunity.
Call 800-624-1673. 800-624-1673.
Are you currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace?
Call Back Brace America at 1-800-290-8300.
Now back to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C., the only radio host man enough to take a punch from Mike Tyson.
Wait a minute, man. Hold on there. Jeremy, man, I need you to take this one, all right?
Wait, what? No way. I can't do this.
Need I remind you I'm Billy C., damn it? Now put on that mustache and get in there.
Hey, look at me. I'm Billy C. Crap.
Undisputed heavyweight champion of Boxing Talk Radio. It's Talkin' Boxing with Billy C.
Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C. Show. Glad you could be with us. And, it reminds me of a little saying or situation, or I don't know. It just reminds me of the one time when Teddy Atlas so calmly and coolly and collectively asked Timothy Bradley in between rounds of a world title fight, "What do firemen do, Timmy? What do firemen? We're firemen, Teddy. We're firemen, Timmy. What do firemen do, Timmy? What do firemen do?" And Timothy Bradley said, "Put out fires? Put out fires, Teddy?" Well, that's similar to what we got with the Bomb Squad. I mean, come on, man. All this yelling and screaming. It sounds like It sounds like dinner at an Italian house, doesn't it, Sal?
Easy, that's my family, all right?
Hey, wait a minute. I'm talking about my family.
It's dinner! Get over here!
Wait a minute. I thought I got the last piece of lasagna. But anyway, we got another. We got another piece. We got another piece. I was gonna say we got another piece of lasagna coming. I'm sorry. We got another email. Let's see, 2 more emails, and then we're gonna start breaking down the fights. This email's from my man Jesse. He says, "Hey guys, Billy, should be a good week of fights. Are you going to watch Friday and Saturday night's fight?" Of course I am, man. Now I was thinking about hanging out on my boat. Well, I may hang out on the boat, but anyway. He says, here are my picks. Mugaya, a late TKO stoppage over Saddam Ali. Lomachenko, late TKO stoppage over Jorge Linares. Ray Vargas over Hovosian. Haney over Menard. He says a good test for the young fighter. And Tabiti, TKO late over Coyote. And he also is picking Roberto Arizia to knock out Ruiz late. He says, Billy, what's your thoughts on Carlos Adames? He will be on the Lomachenko Jorge Linares card. Is it someone to watch out for? I think so. I think he's a talented young fighter, and I believe that he will prove to be a worthy fighter to keep an eye on. I think it's a good test for him, this fight. So, yeah, definitely keep an eye on him. He says, Billy, will the future of TV, will it be cheap, and will it be accessible easily? I really think Hearn is taking boxing to the next generation. He will take over the promotion if he keeps his words of making boxing great, making the best fights, and promoting. Well, he's a promoter. Eddie Hearn is a promoter. At the end of the day, he wants to promote anything he does because that's how he makes his living. Like I said, the future of TV, you see, the problem right now is you have a different classification. You got television, you have internet, you have cell phone connections, you have streaming, you have all these different definitions, so to speak. But the truth of the matter is that we all obtain these signals the same way today. For an example, your cable television, right, is picking up the signal from a satellite. So I happen to have a satellite service, and I'm picking my signal up from a satellite. It goes from satellite to my satellite to a box, which takes it and converts it to a cable connection, or in some cases, a wireless connection. Well, cable companies that are selling you internet service, et cetera, they're getting it the same way. They're pulling it from a satellite. They're putting it to their, distribution center, so to speak, and then it gets handed out through their network of cable that ends up going from their, operation command center to your house. The same thing with the internet right now. The internet is pulling their signals and transporting it the same way, and it's getting to you either wirelessly or via a cable, et cetera, until everyone understands that this data is being brought to you the same way, and now we don't classify everything. My prediction is it's just going to be called entertainment. And when you are a sports fan, specifically most people watching this show are boxing fans, all you care about is watching boxing, well, you're going to be able to buy a package that is going to be geared towards boxing. So in the very near future, you're going to say, my primary interest is watching boxing on TV. So you're going to pay X amount of money a month, and you're going to be able to get all of the boxing events. That includes club shows that may be streaming, televised shows that may be on, ESPN networks or Fox networks, etc., cable network fights, and of course pay-per-view. That's the beauty of having what they call personalized service. As somebody that likes old movies might, go in that direction. That's where it's going to be, so that you, as the consumer, will be able to watch or listen to whatever you like, and your, service contract, so to speak, will be geared towards those interests. You see the beginning of it now, and we have been. You and I could go on the same website, and, if I'm looking at fishing lures and Sal is looking at pantyhose, when he and I go to the same website, he'll see commercials for pantyhose, and I'll see commercials for fishing lures. It's the cookies that are installed. We're on the same website. We're looking at the same stuff, but he's seeing commercials that interest him, and I'm seeing commercials that interest me, and that's the way all of this is going to go, Sal. I mean,
it's amazing, Bill. I listen to every word, and I have a better understanding from the education you just gave to me. Thank you so much. I want to sit down and talk to you about this a little more so you can further entice me or get me interested in that.
Hey, leave Mike Tyson out of this, Sal. Don't come on. Mike Tyson has nothing to do with this. But let's
bingo. We haven't played bingo in a while.
I know. Oh, you just got over that. Stop. But anyway, we got one more email. This is from my man Johnston. And you can check out his column up on BillyCBoxing.com. He says, "Good morning, my China plates, Billy C. and Sal." Just in case you know, that's another one of those crazy UK statements. It's like, "Good morning, my men," my friends, whatever. Lomachenko versus Linares is the must-see fight of the year. I advise anyone who considers themselves even a casual boxing fan to make sure they watch this fight. I agree. He says, "We have three weight world champion in Linares taking on a guy who's vying to become a 3-weight world champion in just his 12th pro fight." He did have a 49,000 amateur fights, but that's besides the point. He says Linares defeated two of the most well-liked British fighters in Kevin Mitchell and Anthony Crowler twice. He beat Crowler. He says, and ended up becoming a fan favorite on these shores. I like Linares, but he's going to struggle against Lomachenko, who's a slick operator. Look no further than his fight against Mitchell. The Londoner was outstanding before the stoppage, almost Lomachenko-like, and made Linares look ordinary. The difference is Lomachenko is in a league of his own and will be able to sustain a high level of performance for the duration of the fight. I could see Lomachenko feeling out Linares in the opening exchanges, but once he's in the groove, he's unstoppable. He's a pleasure to watch. Yes, he's fighting at lightweight, but I honestly don't think the extra 5 pounds are going to make a blind bit of difference. Lomachenko to win convincingly by a unanimous decision or even stop Linares late due to his corner throwing the tile. Have a great weekend, guys. Great breakdown of that fight, Sal, and yes. What a great segue for us to start breaking down and giving our predictions of the fights for the weekend. So first fight I'm going to show and give you my thoughts and breakdowns on is a fight that's actually not one of the main fights that are on television this week, but I refuse to even give Ishii Smith any press in terms of more than I'm already giving him by telling you I'm not going to give him any. So I picked a fight that is actually part of our conversation from yesterday's show about the cruiserweight division. The cruiserweight division is an extremely exciting division, and I wish that the fans here in the United States would support it as much as other fans outside the United States should support this division. This is a great division. The fighter's maximum weight limit is 200 pounds. It's actually 199 because 200 pounds becomes a heavyweight. And generally these guys are in good shape. They're big, they're strong, and they seem to always put on a good show. Well, the top fights do anyway. So let's kick it off with Latif Coyote fighting a young fighter in Andrew Tabiti, who's on the rise. Now, I'll start off with Latif Coyote because he's an interesting guy. Busted onto the scene. A lot of people thought this guy was going to be a major player. And so far it hasn't worked out. He's 35 years old. He's from Nigeria. He's working out of California. And as far as I know, he's still working with Freddie Roach. He's ranked at cruiserweight at number 97, a free fall. This was a number one guy. He's a former world heavyweight and cruiserweight title challenger. He had a bid for the IBO world cruiserweight title against Antonio Tarver back in 2012. And Tarver ended up testing positive for performance-enhancing drug, resulting in this fight being changed to a no decision. The same thing happened when he fought Luis Ortiz. And he fought for the interim world title that Ortiz had at the time at heavyweight. And this time, Latif Coyote tested positive, but they made that knockout loss a no contest. He was blown away in one round. So that fight got changed to a no contest because of the performance-enhancing drugs. He did also challenge for the WBA World Cruiserweight title, and that result stood. He fought Denis Ledebev in Russia and got knocked out. His last 4 fights, 1 win, 2 losses, 1 no contest. Very limited in skill. This guy doesn't throw enough punches. His record is 21 wins, 2 losses, 1 by knockout, and 16 losses, even though he was technically stopped twice on his record because of the no contest and no decision fights. It's on his record as being stopped once. He's got a 64% knockout ratio. He's 6 foot and 1/2 inches tall, happens to be a 1/2 inch shorter than his opponent. And he's got a 78-inch reach, which happens to be an 1.5 inch advantage. It's longer. When I look at his resume, the big names on his resume, he came up short against Keith Tapia, Denis Ledebev, both losses, one by decision against Tapia, and the stoppage loss against Ledebev. He also had a 10-round decision over Nick Kisner, who was a built-up fighter, so it's hard to give him credit for that win over a 16-fight fighter who was 14-1-1. All the big names ended in either a loss or a no decision or no contest. If you want to give, look for a couple of decent wins on his resume, Felix Cora Jr. and Matt Godfrey are the only 2. Now, he steps in the ring with Andrew Tabiti. Andrew Tabiti is a young fighter. He's 28 years old, 7 years younger than Latif Coyote. He's currently the NABF and USBA Cruiserweight champion. The computer has him ranked at number 7 in the world, 90 spots above Latif Coyote. Like I mentioned, he's a 1/2 inch taller, and he's got a 1.5 inch shorter reach. His record, a clean one, 15-0, with 12 of his fights coming by knockout, an 80% knockout ratio. When I look at this guy's resume, his last 3 fights were against good opposition. The same Keith Tapia that fought Latif Coyote, he won a 10-round decision, beat Qantas Graves via a 6-round stoppage in February of last year. And really his biggest name on his resume was a 10-round unanimous decision over Steve USS Cunningham back in August. Andrew Tabiti is a more well-rounded fighter. He can do everything pretty good. I'm not saying he's excellent at everything he does, but he's a work in progress, especially at 28 years old in this division. He's got some time. I believe that because of Latif Coyote, he does possess extreme power, but he's limited with everything else. He's got virtually no defense. He seems to tire out, and at times he seems to not throw enough punches. With those 3 reasons, I'm picking Andrew Tabiti to further along his career and get another somewhat big name on his resume. So I'm picking Tabiti in this one. Sal, what's your thoughts?
Well, I like how you broke those down and those fighters down, and I'll tell you, I think Coyote is going to come up a little short on this end. I am also going with Andrew DeBeatty.
Yeah, it's a shame because the Latif Coyote busted onto the scene and was gaining some fanfare and just has fallen short. But next fight is one that's going to be on tonight on Showtime. Devin Haney against Mason Menard. Now, Mason Menard busted onto the scene with a couple of devastating knockout victories that caught everyone's attention. But the truth remains to be seen about Mason Menard. First of all, he's 39 years old, right? Or 39 or 30 years old. 30 years old, I'm sorry. 10 years older than his opponent. I was going to say 39. I wish I was 39 again. He's got a career record of 33 wins, 24 coming by knockout with 2 losses, and both his losses were knockout losses. He's got 153 rounds under his belt as a professional with a 69% knockout ratio. And he hasn't fought in over a year, so he's not rated by the computer. He's 5'6", 3 inches shorter than his opponent, and he's got a 67-inch reach, which is 4 inches shorter than his opponent. When you look at this guy's resume in 35 professional fights, he's actually only fought, in my opinion, 3 real fighters in his total career. And within those 3 real fighters, he's got a record of 2-1. He was very, very protected on his rise. His first 30 fights really was fed nothing but cupcakes on the Louisiana circuit. Early in his career, he lost to a 4-1 guy by knockout, so really his 2 losses are both by knockouts. His best 2 wins, the 2 that we got to see up front and close, was a knockout loss, and both of these were severe knockouts too, by the way. A knockout victory, I should say, over Yudi Bernardo back in 2016 up at the Turning Stone. I was ringside for that. And also for Bahirdo Mamajanov, knocked him out in 9 rounds of a scheduled 10-round fight when he picked up the NABO lightweight title. But then he lost it to Raimundo Beltran, who knocked him out in 7 and basically took a beating for that fight. And in his last fight, he got a win, 8-round unanimous decision over the journeyman Carlos Canderas. So, when you look at Mason Menard's, and by the way, back in Louisiana, when you look at this guy's record, yes, he possesses punching power, but really hasn't fought anybody. And once again, this is a guy that has fell prey to being overprotected. And yes, it looked like I was 100% wrong when he comes back and wins 2 big fights against big names or known names and wins in devastating fashion. I was almost ready to say, well, there are exceptions. And then I think his true, colors came out. Now, he steps in the ring with Devin Haney. Kid's only 19 years old, 10 years younger than his opponent, Menard. He's ranked at number 97 in the super lightweight division. And keep in mind that Mason Menard is a little smaller. He's only ranked, he's not ranked because he hasn't fought, but he's generally fought as a lightweight. Typically when the A-side fighter comes in, this is what you're going to see, especially with PBC fighters. They're always fighting smaller guys or older guys, etc. In this case, Devin Haney's fighting a smaller, older guy. But anyway, he's ranked at number 97 at super lightweight or junior welterweight, however you want to look at. 3 inches taller at 5'9", 4-inch reach advantage at 71 inches. 18-0 with 12 of his wins coming by knockout. Has only fought 74 rounds. The truth of the matter with Devin Haney is he's never fought a real fighter yet. He hasn't. If you take a look at his resume, they've all been carefully chosen fighters for him. He's got a 67% knockout ratio, but against a baker's dozen of cupcakes. So he's really being tested for the first time in his career against Menard. How's this fight going to go? Well, I think Devin Haney has a lot of pressure on him to perform well. And the one thing he's got to do is make sure that his defense is tight, because Mason Menard is a guy that can hit and hit in a devastating fashion. You know, again, the lack of competition that Haney's faced could prove to be disastrous if he hasn't really had to work on his defense. I'm thinking that his team knows this, and I'm also thinking that youth and his size advantage will prevail. He does have decent movement in the ring. He's going to need it against Mason Menard, but at the end of the day, I'm picking the younger, faster, more talented fighter to win in his first step up in competition. I'm picking Devin Haney on this one. What about you, Sal?
Well, Devin Haney, I know he is the ace side. Everyone thinks he's going to win, and everybody is pulling for him to win. I really do. I'm hoping we get something from the veteran. I like Mason Menard. I think he's going to get in the trenches and try to teach this kid a lesson. I think it's going to be a good fight, and I want to see if Mason Menard could pull it out. I think he's the shorter opponent. He's got to work his way in there. He is about my size as a lightweight with a 67-inch reach, and I want to see what he could do in there. So I'm going to go with Mason Menard just because he's not the favorite.
Good.
And I think he could bring more to the table than this young buck who hasn't really faced anybody could be ready for.
Well, you know, the power is always the equalizer. I mean, your idol Deontay Wilder, he doesn't possess any skill either except for power, and look what it's got him, 40 wins. So, yeah, you're right, and I think that is the equalizer. I'm picking Devin Haney because I feel that his skill set is going to prevail. But you're right. Interesting. We'll have to wait and see on that one. The next fight that I'm going to pick is the co-main event for the Saddam Ali Jamie Mungaya fight, and it's Azat Hoveyosian going up against he's going up against Ray Vargas. Azat Hoveyosian is never fought for a world title. He's 29 years old, which makes him 2 years older than his opponent. He's ranked at super bantamweight or junior lightweight, however you want to look at it, at number 15. He's 5'6" with a 1.5 inch shorter. That's 1.5 inch shorter than his opponent, and he's got a 4-inch reach disadvantage. His reach is 66.5 inches. He's 14-2. 11 of his wins coming by knockout. He's never been stopped in the 2 losses. 70 rounds as a pro with a 69% knockout ratio. When I look at Hoveyosian's record, he's been an exciting fighter. His nickname is Crazy. He's been an exciting fighter, and we have gotten to see him fight several times. But the only real name on his resume that I want to give him credit for, and don't get me wrong, I give all these guys credit for fighting anybody. I don't care if they're fighting their sister in the ring. It's just, you know, when we're looking at it from this perspective, when I say I'm not giving them credit, it's just because, you know, it's not a big win. And I strongly believe that young fighters need to progressively increase their level of opposition in order to get better. I understand that the business of boxing forces fighters to be held back because they're trying to protect O's, but you know, my whole long-term opinion is that it hurts them, not helps them. But anyway, the only name on his resume that is a quality fighter is his last fight, and that was a knockout win over Ronnie Rios. This is also a similar opponent that Ray Vargas did not knock out. He went the distance, so keep that in the back of your mind as I give you my predictions. Now, Hoveyosian steps in the ring. Hoveyosian's an attack-style fighter. There's no question about that. As a matter of fact, he punches pretty hard. I'm surprised that his 14 wins all didn't come by knockout. He did lose to Walter Santabanes, who's 5-2. It was a majority decision in which he wasn't busy enough. And he lost his pro debut against a 1-0-1 fighter by unanimous decision. So The only guys that went the distance with him were Sergio Frias, also Raymond Chacon, which was a 4-4 fighter, and I think he had one other unanimous decision. No, maybe I'm wrong. But anyway, that's that. He steps in the ring with the WBC Junior Featherweight World Champion. Ray Vargas is 27 years old, 2 years younger than Hovosian. He's ranked at number 4 in the same division, super bantamweight or junior lightweight, however you want to look at it. Like I mentioned, 5'7.5" makes him an inch and a half taller, and a 70.5 inch reach makes his reach 4 inches longer. He's undefeated as a world champion, 31 wins, 22 coming by knockout. He's got almost 100 rounds over Hovosian in ring experience at 164, and he's got a KO percentage of 71. His last 4 fights were against top opposition. Going back to September of 2016, he beat Alexander Munoz by knockout. In 2017, he beat Gavin McDonald in the UK by majority decision. In 2017, he beat Ronnie Rios via a 12-round unanimous decision. Now, remember, I said Hovosian was that was their only like opponent that Hovosian knocked out. And in his last fight, he fought Oscar Nageri in December of last year, winning a 12-round decision. He picked up his world title against Gavin McDonald. It was a vacant title in the UK, so he's had basically 3 successful title defenses. I said his last 4 were against top opposition. His last 10 fights have all been against good opposition. Ray Vargas has been moved exactly the way I feel fighters should be moved. This guy's the real deal. He's proven it in the ring, and he hasn't had a cupcake path to where he is today. I think that this fight is going to be very entertaining, but at the end of the day, Ray Vargas is going to get another successful victory, and I would not be surprised if he stops the power punch in Hovosian. What's your thoughts on this one, Sal?
Well, I'm a fan of Ray Vargas. I think he's going to prevail. He's got some good experience underneath his wins, and I too think that Ray Vargas will pull out a victory, whether it goes to a decision or that he can stop this guy later in the fights, later in rounds. It's very possible. And this guy's only got 16 professional fights under his belt, and that's almost half of a little more than half of what Ray has a total bout. So. And not that that's a deciding factor. I just think that Ray's experience and what he's shown in the past is going to prevail. And so I'm picking Ray Vargas.
Well, good. We're back on track with agreeing with each other. The next fight is the co-main event, actually the main event of the HBO fight that I was supposed to be ringside. A somewhat last substitute for Jamie Mungaya is going up against a newly acquired champion who won his title in his last fight, Saddam Ali. So we'll start off with Jamie Mungaya. He's ranked at number 18 at junior middleweight. He's only 21 years old. He's got a record of 28 wins, 24 coming by knockout. He's got 86 rounds as a pro with an 86% knockout punch ratio. This is a guy that obviously packs a punch. The only problem is most of these punches that he packed all took place on undercards, either in Mexico, most of them in Mexico. He did fight in the U.S. One time. Actually, no, I'm wrong. He fought in the U.S. One time in Vegas. But for the most part, his fights have been in Mexico. When I looked at his resume, when I first looked at this guy, who I honestly has flown under the radar, when his name was being mentioned as a possible opponent for Triple G, nobody jumped out at me on his resume. But as I looked at it a little deeper for this particular fight, he does have 4 wins against some decent fighters, 2 of them against the same guy, Johnny Navetti, who he knocked out once and won a unanimous decision. I think his last 3 fights were all good and known opponents. At the aforementioned Novetti in his last fight, which was March of this year. He also fought in February of this year when he beat Jose Carlos Paz. And he fought in December of last year against Paul Venezuela Jr. 3 big fights, all relatively close. The December 9th fight, and then 2 months later fighting on February 2nd, February 10th, and then again in March. So he's been a busy fighter, which means a lot in the large scope of things. Now he steps in with Saddam Ali. Saddam Ali has almost twice as many rounds as him at approximately 160. He's 8 years older at 29, which is kind of surprising when you hear a 29-year-old and he's stepping in the ring with a guy that's 8 years younger than him. At junior middleweight, he's number 4, ranked at number 4. 5'9", 73-inch reach. He's the WBO junior middleweight champion. He's a former world welterweight title challenger. He's 26 wins, 14 by knockout, and 1 loss by knockout, and that loss came at the hands of Jesse Vargas. He's got some big wins against a couple of big names. Johan Perez, Francisco Santana, Luis Carlos Abreu, and, of course, his last fight, who he won the title from, Miguel Cotto, won 12 rounds with him. The Miguel Cotto fight is the fight that I really look at when I am trying to pick a winner in this fight. Miguel Cotto obviously was way past his prime when he fought Saddam Ali. But what Saddam Ali did was outboxed Miguel Cotto. Miguel Cotto, known for his power punching, known for a guy that comes in and works his body, etc., etc. Saddam Ali was able to withstand that. When I look at Jamie Munguia, I look at a similar fighter with power. I think he's an extremely live underdog in this fight. However, I think that Saddam Ali, if he was able to keep Miguel Cotto off of him, I would be shocked if he can't keep Munguia off of him. Now, don't get me wrong, Munguia has extreme punching power, and that is the equalizer, like we've always said. But in this particular fight, even though he's 8 years older, I've always said that once a fighter, and fighters have backed me on this, once a fighter becomes a champion, it kicks up their game a notch. That's what I'm expecting from Saddam Ali this weekend. I think he's going to win this fight. I think Munguia is going to go for the knockout, eventually run out of gas, and Saddam Ali is going to win this fight. I think it may go the distance, and I wouldn't even be surprised if Saddam Ali wins by stoppage. But make no mistake, Munguia is a very, very live underdog. I'm going with the champ in this one. What's your thoughts, Sal?
I think I'm going to go with the champ on this one, too. And I believe, when I did see the fight against Cotto, and he did outbox him, and he took the fight to another level. And even though it wasn't older, aging Cotto, I had never expected to see Cotto lose to Ali the way he did. So I like what the guy has. I think he can prevail, and Munguia, I'm sure, is going to bring a good fight to the game and to the ring, and it's going to be a hard-fought fight. And I see Ali winning either by decision or, as you suggested, maybe a late-round stoppage.
Do you think that he's going to? You think that he will be able to make the distance? You think, Munguia?
Yeah, I think he can. I mean, he's got some experience underneath his wins there, and I think that he can go. He's going to be throwing some bombs, I'm sure, trying to get Ali early, and he may punch himself out. That's why I may say it could be a late round stoppage. But if not, I think he does have enough fuel in the tank to make the distance.
One thing I wanted to mention, I think I caught earlier in one of the chats that Coach actually said he's picking Munguia on this one. And if you recall, Coach is a big fan of Saddam Ali, or at least he's also stating some he's saying in the chat room he's going against his heart and he's picking Munguia based on their amateur pedigrees. Munguia has 128 wins and 10 losses as an amateur. And Saddam Ali is 89-19. But feels that he does have the boxing ability. He's converted to more of a power puncher as a pro. So, and coach is usually right on. So maybe we're both wrong. All right, now for the fight of the weekend, might even be a lot of people think it might be the fight of the year. Vasyl Lomachenko is taking on Jorge Linares. I got some final quotes from these guys. Jorge Linares says, "I've been working hard for the last few fights preparing for this fight. I knew Lomachenko wanted it, and I wanted it. So I was very confident that Golden Boy, Tiakin, and Top Rank were going to get this done. The last two opponents I faced were southpaws. Purposely, I faced southpaws. I was preparing psychologically and physically to fight Vasyl Lomachenko. I've had him on my radar. I believe, and trust me when I say this, the fight is going to get more intense as the rounds go on." Vasyl Lomachenko said, "I want to thank Linares for taking this challenge. Saturday night, it's going to be a good bout, and we're going to find out who the best is. The way this bout is going to go, who knows? It's boxing. It's going to be a fight, and after that, we're going to see." Some early quotes by Lomachenko were suggesting that he was going to make Jorge Linares quit the way he did with his last opponent. So let's take a look at these guys. First and foremost, the champion in the division that they're actually fighting at. Jorge Linares is the WBA World Lightweight Champion. I do value him as a champion, even though he happens to be wearing the WBA belt, which I give no value to. But in this case, they got themselves a good champion in Linares. He's a former world featherweight and junior lightweight champion. So he's a title holder. He's 32 years old, which is actually 2 years older than Lomachenko. Lomachenko was a guy that had an extensive, and I do mean extensive, amateur career. So in a sense, he started off late. Linares from Venezuela, living and training out of Japan right now, is ranked at number 1 in the world at lightweight. He's 5'8", 1 inch taller than Vasyl. He's got a 69-inch reach, which is 3.5 inches taller than Lomachenko. His record: 44 wins, 27 coming by knockout, and he's got 3 losses. All 3 losses came by knockout. His first loss came way back in 2009 against Juan Carlos Salgado. He was knocked out quickly in the first round. He followed that with 2 wins, one against Francisco Lorenzo and one against Rocky Juarez, who was aging at the time. And he also beat a guy that I absolutely love in Jesus Chavez, a guy that is an extremely exciting fighter. He beat him. Chavez had to retire on a stool. And then he fought Adrian Verdungo, beat him. Then he stepped in with one of my favorite fights of all time. He stepped in against Antonio DeMarco. Now, why is this fight one of my favorite fights of all time? Well, first of all, I'll tell you why. First of all, Jorge Linares dominated this fight. I mean, this fight was like a boxing clinic of how you, just beat the snot out of your opponent and, display the sweet science. And that's exactly what Jorge Linares did. Battered Antonio DeMarco for 10 rounds. 10 rounds, okay? And really, this fight could have and should have been stopped. I mean, this was the beating that DeMarco was taking. I mean, Jorge Linares looked like he was the best fighter ever to lace on a pair of gloves. Then in between rounds, DeMarco's corner says, Tony, you need to win by knockout. So you got to go knock him out, okay? And Tony DeMarco looks up, and I'll never forget this, looks up and says, okay, and goes out and knocks out Jorge Linares in the 11th round. It was one of the most fantastic come-from-behind victories on Antonio DeMarco, Antonio DeMarco's part. This was an older fighter, a guy that was considered washed up, etc., etc. Knocks out Linares. Linares comes back a month later, trying to get back up on the bike, fights a 21-2 Sergio Thompson and gets knocked out again in the second round. Everybody thought that his career was over, and he was kicked to the curb. He came back. He continued to fight, worked his way back up. Like my man Johnston said earlier, he had stoppage wins over Kevin Mitchell, 2 decision wins on to Anthony Crowler. In his last 2 fights, he beat Luke Campbell with a split decision, and in his last fight, in a fight that was exciting, Mercito Gesta, another power puncher. Jorge Linares possesses hand speed like you wouldn't believe. His accuracy is great. The problem with Linares is sometimes he seems to take his foot off the gas or run out of gas. I'm not sure what it is. He becomes complacent if he doesn't get the knockout. Sometimes he seems to wait a little bit and then puts the pedal to the metal. He's an extremely exciting fighter. Considering he's going to be bigger, it's going to be interesting to see. It sounds, based on his quotes, but then again, all the quotes always sound great, that he's been prepared for this fight and has extremely been looking forward to it. So we'll have to wait and see. Now, he steps in with Vasyl Lomachenko. Vasyl Lomachenko is by far one of the top pound-for-pound fighters in the world today, if not the number one pound-for-pound fighter. I believe that Vasyl Lomachenko is the true definition of the sweet science. This is a guy that can hit you at will while you're standing right in front of him, and you're throwing your best shots as quickly and as fast and as accurately as you can, and you can't hit the guy. And meanwhile, he's tattooing you while he's still in range. That, my friends, is called the sweet science. Not hit a guy once and twice, one, two, three, and then you're at the other end of the ring where he can't hit you, but you can't hit him. Vasyl Lomachenko, it's beautiful to watch him, and it's true. His last, his last 4 fights have all been ended with his opponents either quitting on the stool or their corner throwing in the towel. Rigondeaux, the 2 biggest names that quit on the stool, Guillermo Rigondeaux and Nicholas Walters, both were supposed to be big fights for the division, and Lomachenko made these guys look ordinary. Who's he got wins under his belt? Well, this was the guy that came out, turned pro, beat Jose Ramirez, who was 25-3 in his pro debut, and then immediately fought for the vacant world featherweight title against Orlando Salido, and learned a valuable lesson that just because you're skilled, the pros are different than the amateurs. Pros get away with a lot of stuff, and Orlando Salido used all the tricks in the book to sneak and just squeeze out a split decision win and win that title. Did it deter Lomachenko? No. He came back and beat another guy who's a current world champion right now, who I love to watch, and Gary Russell Jr. Beat him in a 12-round decision. Followed that, beating Siraya Takalum, who was 51-1-0. He beat Gamaliel Rodriguez, another talented fighter, at 25-2-3, knocked him out. And then Romomio Kasoka beat him. Roman Martinez, Nicholas Walters, Jason Socha, Miguel Mariaga, and Guillermo Rigondeaux, all wins for Vasyl Lomachenko. He is a southpaw, but as you heard, he is his opponent Linares is prepared for a southpaw. It's easier said than done. He is 2 years younger. He's ranked number 1 at super featherweight, so he's moving up and attempting to win his 3rd title. He's currently the WBO World Junior Lightweight Champion. 3.5 inches shorter reach, 1 inch shorter in height. 10 wins, 1 loss. 8 of his wins coming by knockout. Less than 100 rounds as a pro. 73% knockout ratio. Who's going to win this fight? This is a tough fight to pick, man. It really is. I love Lomachenko. I love him. Linares is the real deal. You can't even go with youth versus age because they're very similar in every aspect. You know, the experience level as a pro goes to Linares. The overall experience goes to Lomachenko. Listen, I think, you know, every so often, every generation produces special athletes. And I really believe that Lomachenko is one of those special guys. And I'm not taking anything away from Jorge Linares, because Jorge Linares is a special fighter as well. Unfortunately, somebody's got to lose this fight, and I hope someone does lose it. I hope we don't end up it with a terrific fight and then having it go to the scorecards, and we end up talking on Monday about
Adeline Burns, judge, is he?
I don't know, but end up talking Monday that it shouldn't have been a draw. But listen, just put your seatbelt on and watch this fight and enjoy it, because this is going to be a classic. A lot of times we hope that fights become classics and then they become anticlimactic, like Pacquiao Mayweather was. We waited 5 years for the fight, and it was anticlimactic. This is not going to be anticlimactic. It's going to be a good fight. I see it starting fairly quickly. I do believe we are going to see a feel-out round, but that's it, just one. Who am I picking? It's hard to go against a special fighter like Lomachenko. I think this is another step in all-time greatness for him, if he's not already in that mix. I think a win over Linares will make him, hands down, pound for pound number one in the world today. I'm picking Vasyl Lomachenko in what I think, Sal, is going to be extremely exciting and interesting fight that I just can't wait for. Your thoughts, please.
I'll tell you what, Bill. Nobody breaks down the fighters like you, and I'll tell you, I am a big fan of Vasyl Lomachenko, and I do believe he is pound for pound one of the best fighters out there today. And there's so many great things that this guy can do. He could box, he could punch, he's in position, he's everything you would want to see, and he does personify the definition of the sweet science on so many levels. I like the way Jorge Linares fights. He's my kind of fighter. He gets it rough and tough and tumbly, and he's not afraid to stand in a pocket and fight. He's had some good experience. He's a good fighter. He's a solid fighter. He's fought everybody they put in front of him. He's had a few losses. He's had a few stoppages. But I tell you what, I think that it's a hard one. If I was to say I was a betting man and the smart money is going to be on Vasyl Lomachenko, that's where I'd put my money. If I'm saying, I'm pulling for the underdog, in this case, I think Jorge Linares may be considered an underdog, even though the odds are pretty even here. I'd want, in my heart of hearts, to see Linares win. With that being said, my head's going to think that Vasyl Lomachenko could probably come out victorious here, but I want to go with Linares. I want to go with Linares just based on some things that maybe the stars are lining for him tonight. And who knows? And it'll be interesting. I think you hit it on the head. It's going to be a great fight. I think it's lining up to be a classic fight. And I think we're going to see maybe a fight of the year right here. We'll see. But for some reason, I want to see Jorge Linares to come out the victor.
Now, what makes you think? Just give me some reasons why you think he's going to win. Give me some technical reasons. Like, what is he showing you that you think is going to help him with Lomachenko?
Well, I don't think it's too much the element of surprise stepping up to be a lightweight, because he's done it himself. Jorge Linares, he's come up from lighter weight classes, but he's got that going for him. He's a bigger guy right now. He's filled out a little bit. He's got fast hands. I think he's got some experience on his side to fight styles like Lomachenko. I think in his mind, at least what he's sharing, he's been preparing for this kind of fight. And it's not going to be one that he's going to be surprised going into style against Lomachenko. So I think he's done everything he could have done to be well prepared for this kind of fight. Whether Lomachenko just disproves all those preparation steps is going to be what artful boxing masterful fighter will do. And it doesn't matter how well you prepare. But I think Jorge Linares has a lot to prove to himself. Of caught on a button, which he has been caught several times. I don't know if Vasyl Lomachenko has the punching power to stop him, but we've seen his experience in the end, just being in a position and knowing that that he has been in the loss column before. I just, in my heart of hearts, I think he has what it takes to possibly put up a real good fight to beat Lomachenko.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I mean, that's why they make the fights, and that's why I love this matchup, to be honest.
It's a great match. I mean, it really is. It's a great match. It's something that we're going to have an opportunity to really dissect, and I'm sure we'll be talking about it Monday morning, and then I'll be eating mud or something. But like I said, I not to contradict myself, I just, if I was to put money on the fight, would I put it on Lomachenko? Depending on the odds. If the odds are big, I'd probably put it on Linares. That's all.
Well, Linares is fast. I think his hand speed and his punching accuracy are going to be.
That's what I like.
Yeah, it's going to be an important factor in this fight, of course. But sometimes, and I should say sometimes, most of the time, is when great fighters are put to the test and they're facing other great fighters. It brings out the best, which is a scary thought when you think about Vasyl Lomachenko. If we haven't even seen the best of this guy yet, and if Jorge Linares can bring it out, we're in for quite the surprise on Saturday night, Sal. Now, if we have seen the best, I think your breakdowns and prediction of this fight could easily come true, because despite the fact that Lomachenko has fought some good opposition, he has not fought a talented opponent like Jorge Linares, especially one is bigger than him. Like Linares is bigger, but the other thing that I wonder about is the mileage on Linares. Linares has been stopped. He has righted the ship, so to speak. Does that catch up with him? Will it catch up with him on Saturday night? We haven't seen Lomachenko hurt yet. We haven't seen him really. I mean, the closest fight that he was in was the loss against Salido. So I mean, Linares is going to do one of two things: upset the apple cart and make you look like a genius, or really give us an opportunity to see how good Lomachenko is. Not looking ahead, but if he beats Linares, they are talking, at least Bob Arum is talking, about a possible catchweight fight between him and Manny Pacquiao, which would be another interesting fight. But we'll all have to wait and see on that. I can't wait to see this fight. I'm glad it was made. It was made quickly, no BS, none of this kind of shenanigans that are going on between Wilder and AJ. And the end result is we're going to get some great coverage. We're going to get there's a lot of talk about it, and this is what boxing needs: fighters that want to fight each other and actually step in the ring. These two wanted to fight each other. They both told all the promoters involved, make the fight, and the fight was made. That's why I always wonder what really is going on between Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder. Both fighters have said they want to fight. Both sets of promoters have said they want to fight, but the fight's not being made. It makes you wonder. You've said 100 million times yourself. At the end of the day, it's up to the fighters. If Deontay and if Deontay Wilder is trying to use, I'll give you 50 million to fight me, but you got to answer. If that's his way of saying, hey, I'm calling you out mano a mano, that's not how you do it, though. Nobody ever said Deontay was a smart guy, but the truth of the matter is he's not being advised correctly. So at the end of the day, Lomachenko and Jorge Linares show that two guys that wanted each other, despite their promoters maybe not wanting the fight, made it happen, and they settled to settle it. You know what I mean? They both settled to fight each other to settle it in the ring, and that's really the name of the game, Sal.
Well, you said it so well. You're absolutely right. And like I've always said, if two fighters really want to fight each other, there's not going to be too much bull or rhetoric or dancing. They're going to sign a contract, they're going to knock out a deal, and they're going to fight each other. And my applause to Vasyl Lomachenko and Jorge Linares, because you have two fighters that did want to fight each other, and bingo, there goes that word. It's happening. Now, it just befuddles me, and that's what I'm saying. Maybe they want to tease it, marinate it, do whatever they got to do to get the excitement or level up the attention. But I'm hoping that they're going to come out very shortly with the whole deal being settled and signed, with Deontay Wilder finally facing Anthony Joshua. And not to always rehash this, but even hey, if both fighters are so confident that they're going to beat the other fighter, I mean, I could make an argument for Deontay Wilder to say, hey, you know what? I'll take the lesser of the half. I'll do this the first time because I'm going to beat you, but I want a backloaded contract, like I always said, where you're going to have to give me my makeup money from the first fight that I'm sucking because I know I'm going to beat you. And the same thing on Anthony Joshua's part. If he gets a front-loaded deal where it's favoring him, he's got to realize that there's going to be more on the line if he gets a rematch, and maybe the second fight, if Anthony Joshua does win, it's got to be a little more evenly distributed. And if he doesn't win, he's got to be the B-side coming in with the lesser of the fortune. Who knows? But that's what I'm saying. Maybe they're knocking that deal out. Maybe they're trying to do it. But what I love to see, and I applaud the camps and these two fighters, you have Vasyl Lomachenko, a world champion, facing Jorge Linares, a world champion. Why? Because both these fighters wanted to face each other to prove who's the best. So congratulations to these two warriors.
Yeah, no, you hit that one on the head. That's for sure. I think that at the end of the day, the fighters made the fight happen, and that's what real fighters do. They make the fight happen. Fighters that say, well, hey, I want to fight you, but I don't make those decisions. My promoter makes that. That's the same thing as saying, I don't want to make an excuse, but anyway. Okay, our trivia question.
Okay.
It's a tough one, I get it. And I'm going to give a really, really good hint today. As a matter of fact, the hint is so good that I would be shocked if we don't get a winner on this. So, again, if you're the first one to email me the correct answer to today's trivia question, Billy at Talkin' Boxing, that's TalkinBoxing.com, you'll win your very own copy of the Title Bout Championship computer game. Here's the question, and then I'll read it one more time and then give you the hints. What do Ted Kid Lewis, Dave Shade, and Young Stribling all have in common? If you're the first one to email me, Billy at Talkin' Boxing, that's TalkinBoxing.com, you'll win your very own copy of the Title Bout Championship computer game. So let me read it one more time, this time with not one, not two, but three hints.
Wow.
What did Ted Kid Lewis, Dave Shade, and Young Stribling all have in common? Well, based on an incorrect answer that Coach gave, I'm using that as a hint. They all had 200 fights, over 200 fights each, but that wasn't the answer. What was the other thing I said that they did? What was the other hint I had? I had another hint, too, that I mustn't have written down. But here's the big hint. Here's the big hint. All three of these guys, all right? All three of these guys, the answer of what they have in common has to, I know what the hint was. I didn't write it down. I said another thing that they all had in common is they all reached a certain goal or plateau at the same time, kind of. But the third hint is all three of these guys did something unique, and it had to do with their age. their age. Okay, so those are the 3 hints. I'm not going anymore. Listen, you got the answer. Okay, look them up. Look these guys up, and you'll get the answer correct.
I got another hint.
So if you're the first one to email me, Billy at talkinboxing, TalkinBoxing.com with the right answer, you win the prize. What?
If I'm not mistaken, you can correct me. And it doesn't have to do with age being of acquired, attained older age, because young Stribling died at a young age, didn't he?
Yes, he did. 28 years old.
Young. So that is another thing to consider. There had to be something done before the age of 28 that was so unique. Not that they were so old to come back and do things, like some fighters.
Hey, before we go, a couple of things. We just got another super chat, and there's been some discussions going on in the chat room. A lot of discussion over Anthony Joshua against Deontay Wilder. And Johnston Brown has sent us a super chat because he is officially betting Ali and who's in the chat room, 50 and L is pounds, that Anthony Joshua beats Wilder. So I wanted to get that out to make that official. What I love about this, regardless of which side of the fence you're on, and thanks for the super chat, Johnson, you're the man. Regardless of which side of the fence you're on, the fact that we're talking about it really indicates how important it is to make this fight. And Bingo. As much as I feel that Deontay Wilder is a one-trick pony, and I feel he is, that one trick happens to be a very dangerous one with his punching power. The saddest thing about this whole scenario is Anthony Joshua has such a powerful team behind him in terms of promotion. They've made him a household name worldwide. Deontay Wilder, without his own promotion tactics, no one would even know who he is. I mean, he's an American heavyweight champion, for God's sakes.
That's what I said. That's why I said they should have been putting him on tour, on talk shows, everything else.
He signed this is why fighters need to realize who they sign with. It's so important to sign with the right guy. And speaking of signing with the right guy, I want to give a shout out to one of my new fighters, Serge Cadillas. And Serge definitely signed with the right guy. We're going to move my man Serge up. I've known him. He's been out of the ring for a little bit. You will see him campaign at super middleweight. He's currently a pro at 1-1. He resides in South Florida. Keep an eye on him because we are going to be moving him right along. Serge Cadillas. Check him out. One other thing I wanted to mention before I give you guys what happened on this day in boxing history is I threw it out there about your thoughts. Everybody giving me your thoughts on how many days a week we should do and everything else. And I want to thank everybody for sending me their opinions via email, via text, via phone calls. You can stop now. The truth of the matter is I have made a decision. We are going to maintain the 5 days a week. However, we may be cutting short a couple of those days. So rather than do 2 hours a day, we may do 2 hours 3 days a week and an hour or so the other 2 days. So that's how I'm going to keep everybody happy, I think. But anyway, that's a little update for you. On that. On this day in boxing history, May 11th in 1936, Petey Sarin wins a 15-round decision over Freddie Miller to win the NBA World Featherweight title. It took place in Washington, D.C., that is. On this day in 1988, Kakura Galaxy wins a 12-round decision over Wilfredo Vasquez to win the WBA World Bantamweight title. Took place in Bangkok. 1988 sounds like yesterday, Sal, but it's 30 years ago. 30 years ago. Unbelievable, right? On this day in 1900, James Jeffries knocks out James Corbett in the 23rd round of a scheduled 25-round World Heavyweight title fight. Jeffries retains his World Heavyweight title and improves to 14 wins, no losses, and 2 draws, and the fight took place on Coney Island in New York. On this
That
day,
was Gentleman Jim Corbett?
that would be him. On this day in 1981, Gentleman Jerry Cooney knocks out Kenny Norton in the first round to improve to 25-0 in their heavyweight fight that took place at Madison Square Garden in New York City.
Oh, my gosh. I saw that fight. He hit him with a shot to the liver, a crushing left hook to the liver. It was devastating.
Body shot, right? It was
body shot. He had Kenny Norton. And you know what? I didn't really believe too much about what was being said about Jerry too much at that time. And I thought Kenny Norton was going to beat him. And he put Kenny Norton on the ropes. And he opened up with such a excellent delivery of a left hook right to Kenny Norton's liver. Bam! He put his body, his momentum behind it. I think he would have crushed a lot of guys that night with that shot. But, man, when Kenny Norton got hit with that shot, he folded in half and he went down, and that was it.
He should have used more hooks to the body against Larry Holmes when he had his world.
He should have. No, he should have. He should have. There was no reason why he shouldn't have.
You know, Jerry Cooney. I'll tell a quick story real fast before I give the last thing that happened. But Jerry Cooney, was, let's face it, he was the great white hope. Everybody thought he was going to win. I mean, he had this move to the top, et cetera, et cetera. And I wasn't a big Larry Holmes fan because of, the crying and complaining that Larry did. I've since learned to respect his accomplishments. But I was real ticked off at Jerry for losing that fight. And I'll never forget, I was in Long Island. I was out on the island in the Hamptons or way out past the Hamptons. And I was in this pizza. I went into this pizza place, and we're ordering some food or whatever. And all on the walls, plastered all over the walls, Jerry Cooney. Jerry Cooney's everywhere, And I started talking on at the table, and I'm going, Jerry Cooney, what a fraud, what a blah, 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 blah. I mean, just bad-mouthing poor Jerry Cooney, who I love. I mean, I was just so upset. It was more because of the money I lost on it. But all of a sudden, the guy comes from behind the counter, and he goes, hey, listen, you got to get out of here. And I said, what? And he says, we didn't even finish the pizza. He says, leave the pizza right there. Don't worry about the bill. Get the hell out of here. I'm like, what happened? I said, what? And he says, yeah, we don't want to hear any negative talk about Jerry Cooney. I said, you're throwing us out of here because of Jerry Cooney? He says, they can stay. You got to go. And I go, what's the problem? I said, the guy lost me a ton of money. He goes, he owns this place.
He owns this place.
I was like, oh,
I
no.
thought you were going to say he just walked through the back door.
No. I guess he had owned the place. I don't know, man. But whether it was true or not, we were, escorted out of that place. But it was the Hamptons. It was out in the Hamptons. It wasn't Montauk. I didn't go all the way to the end. It was in the Hamptons. I was doing something out there. But anyway, I think it was called 3 Mile Harbor, maybe, or Bar Harbor.
I might have been there. I remember I used to take some rides. There was a pizza place I went to a while ago.
But anyway, on this day, May 11th in 1848. No, I wasn't born, but my man Coach was. I think that was Coach's birthday. But on this day, May 11th in 1848, Tom Cribb, who was considered the first world heavyweight champion when he defeated my man, Tom Molyneux, in December of 1810, died on this day in England. He was either 66 or 68 years old, according to multiple sources. And Tom Cribb, actually, the pub that he was presented with a cup that says the Champion of England. That was his nickname, the Champion of England, to his dying day. And the pub that he owned in England is still in operation today at the same location and all of that. Amazing stuff. And that's what makes Europe so intriguing, the history and the length of longevity that Europe has sustained, even throughout all the world wars and stuff, is simply amazing. But make no mistake, Tom Molyneux won that first fight. He was robbed.
Wow.
But, anyway, hey, listen, boys and girls, make sure you watch the fights this weekend. There's some great ones, and do not, no matter what, miss Vasyl Lomachenko against Jorge Linares. This is going to be a classic, and we can't wait to talk about this fight come Monday morning. So with that, I'll leave you with this. Make sure you tune in Monday morning for the Vasyl Lomachenko and Jorge Linares post-fight show right here. Same bat time, same bat channel. Until then, ciao, baby.